Let's see.
Okay, so we are live on YouTube now. This is the 24th of January 2024. So,
Mm. No, I'll have to sign in on the profile on the TV is not a signed in profile.
well,
Anyway,
anyway,
it doesn't.
so what I suppose we should start it with the fact that obviously
Mm.
the ETF is now approved. Basically, in terms of the financial world, I think that all eyes on Bitcoin's inflows and outflows. What I'm trying to not to make such a big deal of this, but it is sort of a big deal because nowhere in history has any ETF existed where you can see inflow and outflow because it has to be on chain. When it moves from one entity to the next, it would have to be an on chain transaction. So there's no way they can hide that. And never in history have we had a technology like Arkham. So Arkham's got this thing of they can create a bounty, and then people will go out and search to find the wallet address of, let's say, in this case Grayscale. So now we can see all of Grayscale's holdings on that wallet. And as soon as there's movement, we can see. So you can see all the transactions. If you wanted to, you could basically just monitor this. Then looking at the data around, and this will become a bit more smoother, but this is the institutional side of things. They don't necessarily, like I say, look at charts and things. So they're definitely looking at inflows and outflows, and you can see the net outflow is obviously more on the Grayscale side, and you'll see the inflows obviously distributing to everything else. So BlackRock obviously being the biggest purchaser, and that's why I'm looking at these things before we go to the chart, and that is the important thing we have to look at, is that while everybody is screaming blue murder, Bitcoin's going down, these people are just loading up. And this is not a sell-off or anything. It's not something. It's a technical thing from moving from one space to another. But unfortunately, in terms of the terminology, it has to be sold. There's no way Grayscale can just convert the GBTC because it wasn't BTC directly. So they have to sell off the Bitcoin to liquidate those things. And then, you know, this then is the counter buy. But obviously, crypto people, when they see a red candle, they are liquidated. That said, also, I'm not sure where I saw it, but the Mount Gox has been given. Well, so they're sort of sending out the details to ask people where can we send your Bitcoin to. So I would expect another level of selling somewhere soon, or maybe a month or two. I don't know. They've been threatening to release that Bitcoin, but I don't know how long. It's not this level of Bitcoin. I mean that's what it's not that much, but they had quite a lot. 600 and something thousand Bitcoin. I think the Mount Gox one is about 100 and odd thousand, similar to Michael Saylor them's one level of Bitcoin. That is a toss up. I'm assuming that most people that would receive that Bitcoin after so many years would sell, because most of them got that Bitcoin when Bitcoin was $300. Um, and maybe they become such hardened hodlers they might even keep it for the next bull run. You never know. We just don't know. Also, this being labeled grayscale doesn't mean that it's all of the wallets, because I mean, for 543,000, well, maybe would they keep it in one wallet? I don't know. I don't think that is one wallet. I think that is Arkham doing the research and putting all the wallets in this visualizer of us, at least. Let's see if we can visualize it. Oh, and I just need to log in. I'm hoping that's the password. So now I need to go back in history. Yeah, see, it's a 515 addresses. Definitely not one wallet address that they have. Quite a lot of action there between Coinbase Prime and them. And would you know, there's a Binance address. So they've been naughty. So there's, it's easier to understand what's going on when you can see what's happening. The second thing I wanted to bring up before we go charting is layer twos on Bitcoin, which is becoming sort of the focused on thing. You'll see Satoshi V in there, but they are not the only protocol. There's a whole lot of them here, and I think this is the one that most people are not focusing on. In that, once these things are actually working live mainnet products, then Bitcoin almost moves to an equal level of Ethereum in terms of capabilities, dexes, supplying liquidity, with a base layer that is far superior in terms of security than Ethereum. NFTs, you name it, is probably going to be built on Bitcoin. I don't think Ethereum dies immediately, but I definitely think that there's a lot of I'm going to say, I really don't think people are focusing on Bitcoin in that regard. Either they don't think it's possible, or They're unaware that it's being built at all. And I know we were having this discussion yesterday, I think, about sessions and Bitcoin, and which made me started looking. And ultimately, this is just the box of each session, trading session is probably 8 hours. And when you start looking at let's say Bitcoin in the frame of, let's say, New York, that's Asian session, Sydney, Tokyo, and let's be honest, nobody takes Sydney seriously. So Tokyo is the one we want to look at, London session, and now we're in New York. You can't really argue with the fact that for the most of the day, Bitcoin is moving up. And if we're saying that the US is the majority of the volume, if they set that bottom, it stands to reason that if you're going to come up into Asia and they start pushing price up, that London's going to do the same. We need to start looking at a more sophisticated approach to trading the daily inflows and outflows of Bitcoin, because I think that is how it's going to start looking. The, so to say, God candles may not exist in the next year or so. And if you can see that, I mean, that's a fair amount of movement. It's what, almost $2,000, which was nothing in history. But look at the tight range that they held there. And as soon as it starts selling off, once you start viewing it via the sessions, you see that they're keeping it in that range and they're pushing down. And then this is, what do you call it? Controlled selling. And then obviously, if you're going to look at it in a bigger context, we might still be going down, which is why, I'm not a fan of trend lines, but we draw it in properly. So we could, let's say, push up until Asian and maybe come up there and then sell off again. But I wouldn't go very long term. If I was shorting Bitcoin, I wouldn't go long term. Because for me, once you really can't argue with this, that if BlackRock, Fidelity, or which is Kathy Woods one, all of them are accumulating Bitcoin, why on earth would you want to be selling Bitcoin now? Nobody knows. Yes, they make money off fees, but they still have to, they're nowhere near where they want to be with it. I know BlackRock is sitting, there was a total of about 33,000 Bitcoin. Now that is a third of what MicroStrategy has in their coffers. And I would say that to be fully competitive, all of them should aim to at least have 100,000 Bitcoin. So to me, they obviously got their own strategy to accumulate, but they definitely would have to get up high amounts. And let's not fool ourselves. BlackRock, a week and a half ago, was sitting at 2,200 Bitcoin. They're now at 33,000. So they are accumulating where they can, and they obviously got a team or a strategy to accumulate across multiple platforms. Because they're not just going one place. And some of this stuff is obviously over the counter, I would say. No, but where's Bitcoin dominance? Last week we were around here, weren't we? This thing is always in the way. No. We were here. Higher. So I'm still expecting that it comes down a bit. It does seem to be bouncing for whatever reason. If we come down in price and this is coming down, then obviously, we're sitting at ETH BTC is also not in a wonderful place. But last week, I think we were there, if I'm not mistaken. And there definitely was some alt runs up, which are now pulling back. And we really kind of have to reevaluate how we evaluate these things, because it's not like ETH is the only alt space either. There's Solana and those things that we kind of need to find a process to look at it. I'm not sure Sol BTC is the pair. The total market cap's coming down for the week also, and that's across the board. So for me, it's probably buying points on all the alts and Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. There were some nice entries. If I'm not mistaken, Solana hit $81. Ethereum did a nice little sell-off there. But I mean, since basically the 12th, which was the top there, it's coming all the way down. We now at the point of control there. I would say a nice area to start positioning yourself long term at least. And I do seem to have some level of having to look at gold and Bitcoin together. So I mean, this chart is basically that yellow line is Bitcoin's price, and the candles is gold. So I don't know if you're noticing a trend that gold is even more volatile than Bitcoin at this point. And like we looked at the last time, that for me, over 16 ounces of gold is considered bullish for Bitcoin. Just as long as we stay above 16, we're in the bull market side of things. And little pullbacks like this are just accumulation areas. I mean, people can argue with me, but that's the way I see it. Gold is really struggling to sort of make new ground. And let's be honest, I mean, in the war areas, gold is normally a shining light there where, making new all-time highs and running up when there's terror in the world, whereas that is not always the case nowadays. Which is why, for me, I need to look at always what is gold doing in reference to Bitcoin. Do we see a major sell-off in Bitcoin when gold goes down? No. I mean, yes, there's basically some shape of a resemblance, but maybe we see on a practical level that Bitcoin will take over gold in terms of safety in difficulty, because it's the ease of use to get into it now. And cheaper fees and the ability to move it across if you have the actual asset is quite attractive versus physically moving gold. If you decide to immigrate, you want your value with you, try and take a $1 million or $2 million worth of gold with you and see how far you get legally. You can do that easily with Bitcoin. No, no. Anybody with questions there? And no, I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. But it's good to see, and I know people might not see it as a good thing in the long run, but when institutions start getting in something, they definitely bring weight with them and experience and those things, which the crypto world doesn't really have. On the one end, yes, Bitcoin is a very well traded, liquid market, but on the other end is complete degens and people who don't care about the larger finance world. Um, I was in a group earlier today where you're looking at just, I have to now check where it is. But just to show you the level of degen. Honestly, I don't know where is it. I have to remember where exactly I found it. There we go. Solana pools. These are coins being released. So if you look at the time, so the 1926 new token description, SpongeBob snail. The same time, Mr. Beast's dog with that pinky wolf. You know, I'm not saying one must become disillusioned, but the thing is, you have to look at the amount of things that's hitting the market. Basically, every minute there's at least 2 or 3 projects coming up. Will there be something? We don't know. But somebody has decided to make them, and anybody can do it. It's just hard that when you like totally down in the trenches here, that you start to reason that the other end of crypto is really legitimate. So one has to keep one's head about it, and just it's going like this all the time. And fortunately, there's bots that can do this. So what you can do is you can either use BankBot for Solana, Unibot I think also covers Solana, and you can say, okay, well, fund your Unibot with $1,000, and every project you just throw $10 in. You don't need to manually do it; the bot can do it for you. Which I think is probably the better thing. Because I mean, one does 100x and you made $1,000, and maybe two, let's say 2 or 3, make $3,000. You funded it with $1,000. You know, come out with 100% if you lose the others. It's a viable way of making money, and it's really at the bottom end. You don't need these things to move a lot. But I think that's it for me for today. You guys have any comments there?
Are we good?
No, all good, all good.
So I'm just going to end the stream so that it's not unnecessary. I always forget how to end the stream. I think I need to do it from Zoom side.